Welcome to Mediocre Arts and Crafts. I'm Bug. Today I'm going to take you step by step through making this Create Wonder card featuring two different sets of Lawn Fawn stamps. The house images come from the Happy Village set, and these cute little kiddos in their costumes come from the Easter Party set. When I stamp images for cards, I always stamp an extra. Here I was planning on making two cards, so I went ahead and did a few extra of each of the different types of images here. I like to make an extra in case I am not happy with the way the coloring process happens, or if I get crazy with the scissors and lop off a bunny foot. My hands are covered in ink by this point. I start coloring these in, starting with the flower girl. Now, I don't really have a lot of experience in blending and shading Copic markers or alcohol markers. Some of these are Copics, and I think a couple are just store-brand alcohol markers, but I just do my best. The great thing about alcohol markers is they you can just kind of dot in there and put some shading in, and because of the way the alcohol dissipates, that just kind of naturally blends together for the most part. Here I'm going to go ahead and refocus and use my gray marker to color in the houses. You'll see I do a few different layers here, eventually ending up with 3 different colored houses. I do like to put a lighter color down in the beginning sometimes with the alcohol markers, just to kind of get a feel for what it's going to look like. And of course, like anybody, sometimes I decide that the color isn't what I wanted at all, and I'll cover it up completely with something else. But this guy is pretty good to go. I put some yellow in the windows just to kind of show that there was light on the inside of the house. This card is setting up a scene that should be somewhat like kids out trick-or-treating, so the lights would be on inside and it would be dark outside. Here I use my white gel pens to put in some highlights, some shadow lines, and I really kind of like the way this looks. Not really sure why I tried the slow casual transition here by slowly moving the paper out of the screen. Here I wanted to show my the scissors that I use for this card. I used 3 pair initially. I have my Scotch Precision. These are a no-stick scissor, and of course they have a longish blade. My Martha Precision scissors that have a tiny blade, and then my paper from Fisker's Precision scissors. Links for these are all below if you're interested in looking at their details. I quickly get busy removing these images from the big sheet and just kind of make it easier to do the fussy cutting of all of those different images. These guys I'll go ahead and put in the sleeve with the stamps so that I don't have to stamp them again later. And now I'm going to take out my Martha Stewart Precision scissors. You'll see that the blade is super sharp. It is a little pointy and it's small, so it makes it really easy to make small, precise cuts without having a lot of bulk in the way. And I really like them for cutting out little images like this. Here you get a little bit of a close-up of the houses. I did make all of the straight line cuts first and then tried to get into the little grooves. I wasn't super happy with the way that this image turned out at the end. I cut too far into the outline on some of it, so I went ahead and took the black marker and went along the edges to make that outline a little darker and a little more fluid, and it just kind of gave it a stronger frame and made it pop a little more. And now you can't tell that I don't know how to use scissors. You may have heard me say earlier that these little kiddos are from a Lawn Fawn stamp set called Easter Party. You can find a link to that below wherever I can find it on the internet. What I really love about this set is that even though it is a holiday-specific set, I was able to repurpose it and use it not just for Easter, but also for Halloween, since they're in their little costumes. I do get caught up in the cuteness quite often, but I try not to have too many stamps that are only in my stash to use for one day of the year. Now, this little guy I had a problem with. I had to bring out my Fisker's finger X-Acto blade. I don't think it's called an X-Acto blade, it's probably called a hobby knife. Here's a super quick tie-dye logo break where I ask you to like my video and subscribe to my channel. So here he is after I used the little knife, and I'm going to quickly cut out these ones. Actually, not this quick. This is sped up and edited, of course. But you'll see the way I went about this little flower girl's hat is I went ahead and just cut as much as I could away in one fell swoop, and then went to work on the tiny little details. Right about here is where I realized that every video I make is going to have something right off screen happening that I didn't get in the shot. And here's our little flower child. Flower child. Here's our card base and the book of origami paper that I pulled our backgrounds from. This one I'm going to use as the sky because it's blue. And this one has some leaves on it. It's kind of hard to see unless you focus in, but it has leaves in one orientation. So I had to be sure to cut that in the right direction. Here I have my sky, our field, and some happy little trees. I tried to place one in front and one in back, but it really didn't work out that way. But I'm still happy with the way it looks in the final project. Here I put the trio of houses in the back, of course, because they are basically the same size as those little kiddos, and just laid that up there on top with the lights shining through the windows. Like I mentioned earlier, try to get it straight. It's not straight, so you just tilt your head a little bit when you look at it. And then I'm going to put the kiddos in their costumes right to the right. I lay them out first because I want to see where I'm going to put my sentiment. And I had a hard time deciding if I wanted it to the right in the sky or if I wanted it down below. So I kind of laid it out a little bit here to see what it would cover up. In the long run, I decided that I wanted to leave the sky as almost some empty space. The ground with the leaves is also pretty busy, so I decided to cover up some of that as well with the sentiment after I stamp it. The sentiment stamp I used is a scrapbooks.com exclusive with Momenta, linked below if you're interested in looking at those details. I was originally going to put a happy Halloween, but decided that Create Wonder was a fun sentiment to have on a Halloween card because that's what dressing up is all about. And here it is all done. If you like this video, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Instagram at Mediocre Arts and Crafts, where I do giveaways every 2 weeks.